al-baghi bighair al-haq. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start off with the smartphone app Al-Quran Tafsir and by Word. We're going to click on Surah Al-Araf, which is Surah number 7, and then we're going to click on the ayah number 33. And then we are going to click on each of these three words in this particular phrase, because what we are going to do is we are going to find the root word for each of these three words. For instance, for the root word for al-baghi is baghi, baghair is ghair, and al-haq is haq. Then we are going to go to this website corpus.quran.com. We are going to click on the Quranic dictionary. We're going to click on, let's suppose if we are looking at the root word for haq, which is he, kaf, kaf. We click on this alphabet he, and then we click on this icon, and then select he, kaf, kaf, and then when we click on go, it gives us all the ayahs where this particular word has been used. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to each and every ayah that's been mentioned here with the use of this word, and then we're going to identify the meaning that's been used in that particular ayah of the word haq. In order to take the word by word translation, again we go to corpus.quran, we click on word by word dictionary, word by word translation, we click on surah number 7, and in this particular ayah you can see there are 7 different scholars whose translations is mentioned. You can pick up whichever translation you're more comfortable with. So similarly, I've taken out all the ayahs with the use of the word haq in order to identify the meaning of the word haq. I have listed here only a few of these ayahs in order to give you an idea as to the definition of the word haq by Quran. So for instance, in this particular ayah, the word haq has been used in the meaning of a confirmed truth which has been confirmed beyond any doubt. In this particular ayah, the word haq has been used as it's somebody's or someone's due right as per God's solid judicial principles. It is somebody's somebody's due right based on the justice system by God. And here the word has been used in the meaning of an obligation or a duty. And here the word haq has been used as against or as an opposite to the word batil. So if we list all the meaning of the word haq, haq has been used in Quran in 4 categories of definition. The first and foremost, the definition of the haq is the confirmation of truth. It is a firm, strong, confirmed, solid truth beyond any doubt, on which there is no further doubt. So I can illustrate this meaning of the word haq by giving you an example. For instance, you're standing here and you take an aim at an animal which is standing very far from you with an arrow. And if your arrow hits the animal and the animal falls down and dies, then the falling down of the animal or the death of the animal has proved this truth that that your aim has reached his target, and the arrow has hit the target. So basically, the dying of the animal has confirmed this truth, has proven this fact to be a haq. Because of that your aim has reached his targets. It has also been used as opposite to batil. So batil is defined in Quran as any destructive forces whose basic aim is to create lawlessness and destruction, pain and suffering. So when we use haq as an opposite of batil, it has been meant as a meaning of any constructive forces whose basic aim is to create a shield, a protection, an aim against batil. Its basic aim is good. Its basic aim is constructive, to create harmony and peace and love. Haq has also been used in Quran in the meaning of somebody's or someone's due right based on God-given solid judicial principles. And haq has also been used in terms of somebody's duties or somebody's obligations towards anyone or anything. Similarly, if we look at the word baghi as the root word, it means to cross the boundaries, to go to extreme, to apply your full force in order to cross the boundaries. It also means in the meaning of baghawat, which is a rebelliousness, and it's normally used against when you're going against laws, regulations, rules, system. It's basically used in those meanings. And then it's used in the meaning of to abuse someone, to oppress someone, to torture someone, basically in the meaning of to be jealous. Because whenever someone is in the in an aspect when he or she is jealous of somebody else, then it is only in that point of time that that person ends up having having abused somebody else or going against somebody else in that particular manner. And then the word baghair with the root word ghair has been used as against without, other than, except. And also it also means to hide something, to change something, to amend something, or to replace something. So let's go on to this ayat. So what I've done is I have translated each and every word of this ayat except this particular phrase, because we're going to discuss this phrase. So the ayat start with that say, the things that my Lord has indeed forbidden. So here this particular ayah is going to talk about all the things that are being considered as haram, as prohibitions by Quran, which are shameful deeds, whether open or in secret, and the sin, and wal baghi baghairul haq, and assigning of partners to Allah for which He has given no authority, and saying things about or from Allah of which you have no knowledge. So basically this phrase with all its meanings is considered as haram, as prohibited by God Almighty, and this particular phrase defines all those things that are being considered as haram, but also aligned and in line with doing shirk or doing or assigning partners with Allah, which is that major a sin. So we need to look at this phrase in that light. So if we look at all of these vocabulary that we have already gone through, what are the areas and the aspects that have been considered haram or prohibited through this phrase? The first and the foremost, if we look at the word baghi, it means to go to extreme, to cross the boundaries, to strive with full force against. It means basically to cross the boundaries. And what boundaries are we talking about? We're talking about those boundaries that God has given to us. It's God given, those laws, rules and restrictions that defines our boundaries for our freedom and for our restriction. These are the boundaries of Deen. So to go against these boundaries or to cross these boundaries is considered as haram, as per this phrase. Then to be rebelliousness, then to rebel against or go against the laws, rules, regulations or systems that you are under governed for. So for instance, if you're living in a certain country, you're bound by certain laws, rules and regulations. You're supposed to follow those laws, rules and regulations as per letter and spirit. If anyone does not follow those laws, rules and regulations or go against those laws, rules and regulations, this would be termed as going as rebelliousness, as baghi, and therefore is termed haram. So for instance, if we evade taxes, or if we try to evade taxes, we might consider that this is such a small thing, but as per these very explicit guidelines by Quran, this would be termed under baghi, and it is considered as haram. That means that we need to comply with all the laws, rules and regulations that are applicable to us from our country or from our institutions that we are working with, or for our official capacity. If we are working as a professional, there are certain rules and regulations that we need to comply with. So going against those laws, rules and regulations would be termed as haram as per these guidelines. Then to be jealous of someone, because as per our fitrat, humans are given the fitrat of love and kindness and respect and dignity for each other. This is a part of our fitrat, and we tend to go against our fitrat only when we fell victim to being jealous of someone. And when we do that, then we end up abusing someone or torturing someone or oppressing someone. It's only when we are jealous that we end up doing this, and it's because of this that that falling victim to the feelings of jealousy is considered as haram. Now, if we look at the word baghair al-haq, again, it has multiple meanings. The first and the foremost, if we consider haq as truth, as confirmed truth, to hide the confirmed truth is considered as haram. This is something that we might think that this is such a small thing that, for instance, I'll just give you an example. If you're sitting in a social gathering and there's somebody who is talking against someone or some institution, and we know that this is not true, and we know that that the truth is not this, then to hide the truth in this particular instance is haram, because in this particular situation it calls for us to express the truth, to expose the truth, and not to hide the truth. So whenever we hide the truth, we are going against haq, and this is termed as haram. Similarly, to change the truth, to amend or replace the truth, it's not just like it's not just that if we lie or if we give out any false or fabricated facts to anyone. It's also when we tell out half truth, because we all know that whenever we tell half truth, it's much more dangerous than a complete false statement, because it gives an impression that there's some truth to it, which is much more dangerous. So as per this very explicit guidelines, you cannot change the truth, you cannot amend the truth, and you cannot replace the truth, because if we do that, we are going against haq. Now, if we consider haq as due right, it means that whatever is somebody's or someone's due right as per God-given solid judicial principles, that due right has to be accorded to that something or someone. I'll give you two examples in this particular aspect. One is that, for instance, you have hired a construction worker to help you out in some construction work at your home, and the moment that construction is completed and the person does complete his work, then the compensation becomes due, his due right, and you're supposed to give him the compensation the moment the construction is completed, because that is his or her haq sooner the construction is completed as per the justice system. Similarly, let's suppose the government has created a complete system of waste disposal, and your job in that particular complete system is to segregate the green bin and the recycle and disposal in order to help the government continue with the waste disposable system, right? So when the sooner government puts in place this complete system of waste disposable, the government has the haq, its due right on you to complete your part. So this is due on you. It is something which is a due right for the government, that you need to do your part, because this is the government as per the God-given solid judicial principles, that this is become due. Similarly, if we take haq as a duty, as an obligation, if we do not fulfill any of our obligations towards anything or anyone, then we are going against haq, and this is termed as haram. So in our life, there are many roles that we play. If we consider this in terms of towards anyone, as a person, there are many roles that we play. We are there's an obligation, there's a duty towards us as our own self, which is to take care of ourselves, to utilize all our faculties and our abilities to the maximum in order to pursue our objectives within the boundaries set out by God-given laws and regulations. Within those boundaries, to utilize all our faculties and all our abilities to its maximum and to take care of ourselves is our duty and is our obligation to ourselves. It is a haq for ourselves that we need to take care of. Then we have a haq towards our parents, which is to do our best behavior with them, which is a ihsan in terms of what Quran has given us explicit guidelines. If we do not do our best behavior, if we are not at our best behavior with our parents, we are actually going against haq, and it's termed as haram. Then there are haq of our spouses to us for each other. Then there are haq for our siblings for each other for us. Then there are haq for our children on us that we need to take care of. Then there are haq of our neighbors. Then there are haq of our family, of our friends, even for our strangers. The haq which is due and which is obligated on us is that God has created each and every human soul in the utmost respect and dignity, and that's how we need to treat each and every individual we come across, at the utmost level of kindness and love and respect and dignity. So if we do not do that, we are actually going against our duties, our obligation, and going against haq, which is termed as haram. Now, if we similarly, if there is any obligation that's been due towards us in terms of which is haq on us, sort of our obligations, if that is due to any institution, any government, anything around us, we need to do that. For instance, if we are driving on the road, to share the road with everyone who is on the road at that point of time is our obligation, and we need to follow our obligation, follow our duty, and if we don't do that, then we are going against haq. So these are just few examples to illustrate this point. Then if we treat haq as an opposite of batil, which means that any constructive forces that whose basic aim is to provide shield and protection against batil, whose basic aim is to create love and harmony and peace and is constructive in nature, our duty is to support that. If we hinder those activities, if we oppose those activities, then it is equivalent to going against haq. I'll just give you an example. For instance, if there are activities that are being done by Red Cross or by ED or by Nisa Homes, any of these institutions or many such institutions and organizations that are working to create peace and harmony and constructive efforts, if we go against those organization in any manner whatsoever, or if we do not support them, or if we hinder their activities, we are basically going against haq, and these are termed as haram or as prohibited. So if we look at, in summary, just this phrase, wal baghi baghairul haq, is basically a huge aspects. In fact, it covers each and every aspect of our life and identifies all the areas that are termed as haram, and all of these areas are termed as prohibitions and termed as aligned with assigning partners with God, and it is that high, that major a sin, and that is why it's termed as haram. So in conclusion, what we have learned today is to use all the tools to understand a part of 733. We have used smartphone apps, websites, and Quranic dictionary. We have utilized all the tools. Then we have referred to each and every ayah where that particular root word has been used, and we have wrote down each and every meaning of those root words, and then come back to the ayah and we have applied those meanings. So in this particular way, we have taken help from Quran to define its own words for us, and that's what we have relied on. And then we have done thinking and pondering and utilizing all our faculties and our intellect to understand just one phrase, and the phrase that we have understood today is wal baghi baghairul haq. And what we have learned is that this small phrase covers a huge aspect of our life. In fact, each and every aspect of our life has been covered in this. So it's prohibited to go against the boundaries set out by Deen Islam, by God-given laws, rules, and regulations that defines the boundaries of our freedom and our restrictions. It's haram and it's prohibited to go against those boundaries. Then it is prohibited to go against the laws, rules, and regulations to which you need to comply with. If you don't follow those laws, if we go against those laws, it is termed as rebelliousness, or if we rebel against those laws, these are termed as prohibited. Similarly, to be a victim of jealousy is termed as haram, because by doing that we end up abusing someone or oppressing someone or torturing someone, because these are the extremes that we tend to go to whenever we fell victim to the feeling of jealousy. And it is because of these feelings of jealousy that we tend to go against our own fitrat of being kind and respectful for each other. It's because of this that that this particular has been termed as haram or as prohibited by Quran. Similarly, going against haq as truth, to hide the truth, to change, to amend, or replace the truth is termed as prohibited. Similarly, to not give something or someone its due right as per God's given solid judicial principles is termed as prohibited. Similarly, not following any of the duty or the obligations that you have to fulfill towards anything or anyone in terms of your different roles in life, be it personal or professional or as a society. Then opposing, then if we take haq as an opposite of batil, to hinder, oppose, not to support or go against haq, which are those constructive forces trying to provide shield and protection against batil, trying to create love and harmony among each other. Those are those constructive forces that utilize these aspect of our fitrat. If we hinder those, if we oppose those, or if we do not support those institutions or those individuals, then we are actually going against haq, and this is termed